And his goal is one: deceive as many as possible. And I don't believe that deception is just on spiritual things. I think he would deceive spiritually, and he would deceive even the world wastes everything. He will try to deceive us.
Okay, ladies and gents, welcome back to Offbeat POV. My name is Chin, and I'm joined by my co-hosts Pronek and Fatsani. Ladies and gents, we've been away for a while, but it is good to be back. We are glad to be back and want to thank you very much for tuning in, and we hope you enjoy your time with us. So, what we're gonna do then? I just want to go through a couple of things that I guess would have caught our attention since we last sat together and had a chat and whatnot. So we'll go over to Pronek. Pronek, what caught your eye in recent times?
You're very right. It's good to be back. I had missed this mic, this studio, the cameras, the lights.
Okay.
Can I
go? Please do at this rate.
Now, a lot has been happening, but one for me that stands out the most, like you already know about this, was the Terrence Howard interview on Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Now, I have to say, it took my attention because I feel like I can relate. I feel like I also remember being in the womb, saying hi to my hand. It's only a joke for those that have listened.
You're gonna have to context a little bit, because not everyone listened to a 3-hour podcast.
Honestly, but that was right at the beginning. Okay, it was wild. Anyway, this guy started off this podcast by obviously saying that he remembers the experience of being in his mom's womb, and obviously
And do you know who Terrence Howard is?
he's the actor. Lucius
Lyon
I
in
know.
Empire.
I think I know him from Fighting Temptations.
Yes, that's the guy.
And
No, that's
Cuba.
Junior. Yeah.
Sorry, wrong guy. But yeah, I know him.
He's in quite a few black productions, but yeah,
But
Lucius Lyon is probably
as
his.
our father would say, we know you're lying, but carry on.
Now it was wild because it was like he had a friend, which was the hand. Obviously, he didn't know it was called
His
a
own
hand.
hand?
Yeah, his own hand, but he didn't know it was called a hand. So he would see it go by, and it was, oh, that's my friend. It's wild. He remembers being.
How many months in the womb was he at this point?
I have no idea. Anyway, that's not the focal point of it. But obviously, the internet went crazy. It's like you knew it was going to be a crazy podcast if someone is starting by. I remember the experience in my womb. I remember being born and everything. Listen, it's his experience, isn't it? So you can't say much just because we don't remember. But what really took my attention, which is what I want to bring to this podcast, is because he's now don't ask me too many questions because obviously I don't understand the technical aspects of it and whatnot.
Bring it to us. Who else are we going to ask questions?
But he is challenging apparently basically the foundation of the science that we have right now. He goes back as far as this thing called the flower of life, which from what he said, I understand that it's something that basically everything scientific was based on. I'm talking about like dimensions, like atoms and things like that. Like I said, I'm not an expert. Don't ask me. So
I knew when you said dimensions.
so what I found, okay. So what I found fascinating was the fact that I feel like as a people, right, or as believers, we undermine and underplay the fact that this world belongs to the devil. Right, and for me, that's why I found it interesting because he's basically challenging everything that a lot of us or a lot of people would swear and die by. Or like,
does it belong to the devil or does it still belong to God and God?
So that this is the thing.
Devil?
So this is the thing.
Allow
okay, so this is where I wanted to start. For example, right, Genesis clearly states that the suns and the moons were for signs, times, and seasons, and so on and so forth, right? So there is that we know is the truth, right? But then if you want to deceive people, you could spin that. There are a lot of things that you could tell people about that makes them think it's the right thing, but it's actually the wrong thing. Like, you see, a lot of things. For example, one thing that obviously has always been spoken about is like the way we count time now. Now, if we observe the Bible biblically, the timings that God gave to the Israelites to say that this shall be the first month of your year and so on and so forth was based on the lunar solar calendar. And if you follow that lunar calendar, there's no fixed 7 days week recurrence, no month, no year. It's actually moving because it's based on the time, right? But our time now, it's fixed. Yeah. So obviously you might say it's a small thing, it's a minute thing. Fine, fair enough. But then what you can say, if you are one that follows and believes in that biblical calendar, is actually the time that we are following is actually off tune with the actual timing of God. So if it's a point of deceiving people, now you're going to ask me, yeah, but what's the point of that? Well, I don't know, but the devil does, because he's taken time to deceive people from the actual truth of timing, right? And whilst I was listening to that, well, not listening to that, but then the reason why I enjoyed that, or the aspect of the fact that we underplay even Corinthians, I think, or somewhere there towards the end, where it says that the master of intrigue is at work right now. You know, Matthew says that he could deceive the elect, even the elect, if it were possible. There is a spirit out there actively and strongly trying to deceive the world from everything that is truth. Yeah. And this man, a lot of people are laughing at him. A lot of people are saying, well, there's both comments. Yeah. But I just enjoyed the fact that he's come and he's challenged something that even we were saying, for example, 1 times 1 has always been 1. And here's someone that's come and say, oh no, it can't be 1, it has to be 2. So obviously it just balances it out.
But we logically thought about that, and it can't be 2.
We logically thought about it based on what mathematicians have told us math is. But what if that thing is wrong? Is my point. I'm not saying it is. Don't get me wrong. I'm not fighting for him.
But don't certain things go back to their own creation? Because certain things, you know, everything wasn't created at once. Everything didn't come about at once. So as a human, as a human race, there are things that we're gonna come up with that are just a matter of understanding.
Very true.
Of
and
origin,
this man is questioning those understandings, and that these understandings, you know, he believes are wrong.
Okay, so give me the biggest thing that he challenged that you thought, you know what, he could be onto something there.
To be fair with you, I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna be blank with you guys. A lot of it went over my head. Okay.
So you're sitting here on a podcast telling about how this guy is like, oh, I was very interested. He's challenging things, but you can't actually pinpoint.
Okay. In order for you to know that you are on the wrong path, sometimes it takes that one person that's gonna go against the tide and challenge what is normal. So I don't know what he's talking about. Hold on. So I'm not saying I understand what he's talking about or I agree with what he's talking about. I just enjoyed and loved the fact that somebody has stood up and has challenged what we call normal.
But a crazy person can do that too.
Fair enough. I'm sure a lot of scientists that we celebrate today were once upon a time crazy people when they were talking about a lot of creations.
They were mavericks, yeah.
You know, so mavericks. That's how it's at. So I'm good. I'm happy you called him crazy.
What I'm saying is the difference between a crazy man's claim and a visionary's claim is when they are weighed and they're thought about and they're dissected, the visionary's claims stand up. The crazy man's claim don't.
After some time they do, yes.
So what I'm saying is, oh, okay, that's very interesting. This guy is challenging the norm, whatever. Okay, what is he challenging? We need to know,
it's like, okay,
so that we can at least think about what it is that we're thinking about. Otherwise, it's a crazy man's rumblings.
The notion of gravity. That couldn't be disproved because his thing was simple. He named it. The thing was he named it gravity, and the notion was if it goes up, it has to come down because there's a force that pulls it down, and people could then dissect that. Okay, this thing here, let me throw it up in the air, see if it stays up there. No, it fell. This thing, let me throw it up. Oh, even heavy things, people be like, oh, even light thing. Oh, this thing is light. Let me throw it up. It's gonna. That's how you can't then say to the guy, no, you're crazy because he's got the evidence to back it up.
Fair enough. I respect that. Like I said, I'm just enjoying the fact that somebody has stood up and is fighting against what we call normal. And the reason why I'm enjoying that is because I strongly believe, and this is a personal belief, that biblically there are a lot of things that this world calls normal, especially when it comes to the world of science. There are so many things that they've made us believe and we accept them as normal, and they've been experimented and we've agreed they've been experimented that I believe are not the case. Okay, so simply, I don't have any with you. Yeah, simply because simply because I know the Bible clearly shows us that this world belongs to the prince of the air, and his goal is one: deceive as many as possible. And I don't believe that deception is just on spiritual things. I think he will deceive spiritually, and he will deceive even the world. The world works, everything he will try to deceive us. That's a personal belief. All right. So that's why I like that.
Here is my homework to you, Pronik. You've made wild and big claims. claims that I'm not saying are
Hold
wrong.
on. I've not made any wild and big claims. I'm
What
sweating
have you
now.
just said right now?
I've just brought wild and
you're
big
saying
claims that someone else made.
You're saying
but you
you
said it's your
believe
personal
there are
belief
things
as
that
well.
are tested and proven that are a deception from the devil. Summarize. That's what you're saying.
Yes.
And not
So I'm
just
saying, okay,
which
cool.
go beyond the spiritual realm.
Yeah. So I'm saying, okay, cool.
Yes,
Fair
very
enough.
true.
That's fine.
Bring them here.
Listen, so hang on.
Evidence number one. Evidence number
So
one.
what I'm saying is, it's a claim that I don't instantly disagree with. I'm apprehensive. It's something I've come across, and I think we've had a discussion before. I've come across the concept. I understand it. I don't disagree with it. I just think that's fair enough. But if your homework then is to start finding those things, dissecting them, look into them, and then bring your arguments to this podcast.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear, oh, no, I'm not versed in that. That's fine. Take your time. 2 years,
All right.
4 years, take your time.
You know
But
what?
I want to find
I
those
will
things,
accept that.
The things that are
because
proven
it's
and
given me
tested by
time.
science. Do your thing. Come here and let's talk about them. Because
Okay.
I'm interested. But
Okay.
me, I follow the logic and the reasoning. Because science and maths and physics, they don't make anything. They just discover things that God has created. That's what I believe. Science doesn't create anything. It just discovers. Gravity wasn't created. He just put a name to something that happens naturally. You know, so these things are
So
not...
that could be one of the few things that are true in the long line of deceptions. But they started with that so that when you say, oh, wow, this works. And then he says that, oh, by the way, you can also do ABCD. We all believe him because why? Gravity worked.
Listen,
I know it
what I'm
sounds
saying
crazy.
is, what I'm saying is,
Right?
1 + 1 is 2. Those are just names that we've put to this thing, and we've called this 2. Uno is 1 in Spanish. You know, what's 1 in French?
Dry.
In Chichewa, I guess Chimodzi, I don't know.
No, it's one.
No, 1 is the English. It's the English version. But I guess it would be... But my point is...
Oh.
But my point is, for the same thing, different languages have different words for it. So 1 isn't a fact of life. You don't say 1 × 1 is 1. That's just something that we've termed a naturally occurring thing. If I take this thing and I take another one of it, I have 2 of them. Is what we would say. Someone else was... But the thing is that observing...
Brownie could say, you have been deceived.
Anyway, that's fine. So your homework,
Listen.
find those things, bring your evidence. I'm very interested, and I think our audience will be interested as well. So yes, but to anyone who hasn't watched the Terrence Howard interview, watch it. It's about 3 hours. It's crazy. And what I like is that a lot of smart people who do understand what he's talking about have come out and said, yeah, this guy's talking rubbish. The things he's just throwing fancy words about to make people sound... They could be wrong.
Equally,
For you,
a lot of
there could
smart
be the
people
devil's
have
agents.
come out as well and explained why what he's saying
Have
has
they?
merits. Yeah.
No, that's interesting.
I don't know
haven't
how
heard of
smart
them.
they are, but there's a lot of YouTube videos that are, in support of that. as
Fair
well.
enough. I haven't heard of them, so that would be interesting. But yes,
Suppose
yeah.
it depends what
It would
our
be.
definition of smart is.
I know. No, fair enough. Yeah, the episode is with Joe Rogan. He's on thousands of episodes now, so you find it. I don't know who is it.
We've
Anyone
really
who's
plugged
interested.
this other podcast.
Yeah, listen, he's a big podcast. If
Make
you
sure-
heard that we
Yeah,
Make
plugged
sure
him,
Imagine.
you finish watching this one first.
oh yeah, obviously. If you heard that we plugged him, maybe like, hey, you know what? I heard this podcast in England. They plugged me. Let me give them a call. Anyway,
Yeah, okay.
anyway, that's on.
You've been deceived. That happens.
So what caught
That's
my
only
what,
what caught- yeah,
what
right.
caught my well, 2 things caught my eye. The first thing, obviously, we know the whole Donald Trump saga. He's been indicted.
Oh, yes,
No, he's
yeah,
been
yeah, yeah.
charged for several things. The list is very long, so I'm not going to sit here and name the things he's been charged for.
He's been
But
convicted
obviously,
now,
he's
not so?
convicted even, yes. So obviously, Trump is very forward on his Christian views, on his Christian beliefs. He doesn't hide that. And there's a lot of chatter, especially in his Christian followers community, that are like, oh, our guy is being persecuted. Our guy is being persecuted like Jesus was persecuted.
Wow.
So what's people
Are they
saying?
actually saying that?
Yeah, Trump, and he's gaining more follow. Like his Christian fans are really revved up now.
I mean, I know he's going for, but Trump is a he's that movie character that the more people try to destroy him, the more the bigger he gets.
This is what people. This is.
I don't
so
know about the Christian
what,
aspect
what
of
do
it.
I didn't know that either.
POV think? Is Mr. Good old Mr. Trump facing persecution?
Persecution, yeah. I wouldn't say it's the Christian it's the persecution that's described in the Bible, because persecution is just, I guess, no, is it even persecution? Maybe, I don't know. But my point is, it's not the type of persecution.
What
that
does
Jesus
persecution
faced.
mean?
A persecution is to be persecuted.
Wow.
I mean, it's basically to be mistreated
because of your beliefs.
Yeah, and usually mistreated unfairly. So for you to be persecuted, you're being mistreated unfairly, which is why I was asking, is it persecution? I don't know, because I haven't been following the story, but from what I understand, it's to do with Stormy Daniels, who is a adult star.
Yeah.
Did they have relations together or something?
Like that.
Okay, yeah, and I think he made a payment to her.
But I think
and people are claiming that payment was out of the campaign funds, the presidential campaign funds. But he's saying no, the payment was after the presidential campaign had finished or something like that. So he's not even saying no, it didn't happen. It's a lie. He's like, no, I did pay her. It's just it was nothing to do with the campaign.
But obviously, the list is long as well for what he's being convicted for.
No, I think that's the only thing he's been convicted of. I think they've tried charging him with a bunch of stuff.
100%.
But I think that's the only thing he's been convicted of.
This is where the followers are saying, well, this is clear persecution, because you're literally trying to get him on anything you can. You started making things up to try and make sure that he doesn't come back into power, this, that, and the other, because you know that when he comes back into power, a lot of some of the laws that have been put in place while he's been away that are not very Christian value led. He might start to unravel those, unwind those, continue, because obviously when he was in power, a lot of things like abortion laws and stuff like that, those were really, really hot topics. Gay rights were really, really hot topics. So there's that angle. So yeah, Donald Trump, the next Jesus.
I mean,
that's interesting.
I think
that's interesting.
No, I don't follow him that much. But I am interested in America for some weird thing. I think that's where everything fun happens. And whereas he might say Christian things maybe once in a while when he's delivering speeches, or might disagree with certain things that the Christian community are in support of, I would not really paint him as a poster child for Christianity, to be honest. So the persecution...
It's not about poster child. It's about, is he a Christian, and is he living out his Christian values?
I think politics is a dirty game. So are they looking at anything and everything in order to try to make sure that they slander him and destroy him so that he doesn't get back into power? Yes, they are. Would they have done that to anybody despite their religions and belief or faith and whatnot? If they did not want them in power, yes, they would have. So I think this is a case of
but then this is where the argument comes in, because that's what people are saying. Which president have people gone to this extent with?
But has America ever had such a figure though?
Let me try something else. Let me try from a different angle.
There's such a figure as well. It's very controversial on some of these subjects that are very controversial when it comes to believers and non-believers. So things like gay rights, abortion and stuff like that. That's
okay. Let me put it this way. Let me put it this way. You don't have to be a Christian to be against, let's say, for example, gay and abortions, right? So if he wasn't a Christian, yet he was in support of that, for whatever reason, he saw that this gay thing or this abortion thing, these are not right, these are not strong values, these are not good, and he was openly against that. Would they not have still been against him as they are now?
Oh, okay. Hang on. Okay, that's a hypothetical situation. I'm looking at it. Let's say the current situation. Again, I'm not too versed, but the reason I say they might be interesting is because let's say they've brought a trans law, for example, that, you know what, trans ideology has to be taught in schools, right? And they're gonna pass that law. Trump is like, no, I'm sorry, we're a Christian nation. This against our Christian values. If I come in power, this law is not passing. And then they're looking at that and thinking, guys, we cannot have Trump in the White House, because if it comes in the White House, he's going to destroy this trans ideology thing. Therefore, we need to take him down. I guess the question she's coming from and what people are looking at is that would that not be seen as a form of persecution? Because the only reason they're so adamant of taking him down is because they know that once he's in office, he's trying to push his Christian ideology, which is what they don't want.
I don't know. I think
I don't know. I don't know either.
I think it's tough because
let's be really stringent here. How many political people trying to gain that level of power that Trump is gaining are going to put forward those views in this climate. If you want that power, you're not, even if that's what you think, I'm sure your advisors are sat there going, don't say that. If you really want this position, you might have those views, but don't say that. But he is obviously very, very vocal about.
Do you remember that man? That the poster child for atheism yet sat there and said that, well, if the cathedrals were destroyed, if the Christian vibes and morals that we had were destroyed, well, I would want that world. So what I'm trying to say is that the Christian aspect is there, because obviously he's saying that, I don't know if that's what he's saying, but I guess he's supporting Christian values in that sense, in the sense of saying that okay, we can't do that. So what I'm adding, the only reason I'm a little bit, I guess, skeptical about it, to connect with the whole Christian persecution thing, is because I'm seeing that it could have been anybody who just agreed with those values. See, and if that was the case, that person they would have been trying to take him down. But
then isn't that because of the value? So wouldn't that person being persecuted? So it's no longer about the person themselves, it's what they stand for. Isn't that what persecution is?
But then if it's about what you stand for, to be honest with you, despite where you are, you will get, despite the only difference with Mr. Trump is that he is trying to get into office, one of the most powerful offices in the world. So I think it okay, let me concede by saying this. I think it could be a case of his Christian values, and I'm quoting that because obviously we're dealing with a prostitute that was paid so much money, going back, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, amongst other stuff that he's openly proud about because he is Donald Trump, So that's why I'm saying that, I don't know if this is a Christian that is trying to fight for his beliefs and morals that I'm gonna die for them, or if this is a man who is so brave and he knows he's liked by so many people because the world has just had enough, and he's running for the office, and he's saying that, you know what, we're just gonna go full ahead, and people are loving that again about him. And then obviously that community is not gonna like that, because he knows that, you know what, we've had him already. He is a man that does what he says. If I'm not mistaken, then they start building that wall he said he was gonna build. So people are scared that, he's the man that does what he says, so they don't want him in power. Take that aspect away, are they gonna care so much? Well, yes, they will if he's a figure, but not to that extent, I think.
But if you take that aspect away, then you've just removed the whole point of the conversation, because it wouldn't be a conversation.
But that's my point. The persecution would have to, if in order for it to be pure persecution because of his belief, that would have to continue whether he's trying to run or not.
But
if he stops trying to run for president, no one is trying to go and try and take him to court for anything.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. I think the large aspect of it is the fact that he wants to get into the office. So it does fall under the political rules of trying to destroy someone's character so that they don't get into office.
You've confused me.
Fair enough. Yeah, a little bit. I see what you're trying to say, but in any case, I was thinking about it when you were speaking, and it's tough because it could be persecution. It could be persecution in that he's been targeted for his views, and he's been mistreated because of the views that he holds, and they're against the majority. Obviously, what Pro Nick said, it's not an innocent game. It's not like Jesus, where he's entirely innocent and he's being persecuted.
Jesus was going around preaching the message, and that's why he was being persecuted for. He was not trying to enter into a government thing or any local office.
I mean, his message was destroying the Jewish state of play,
spiritual state of play, not political.
No,
it was the church or the temple or the understandings that he was destroying.
The Jews were ruled by the temple.
The Roman Empire were in power. That's why they took him to Pilate.
The Roman Empire were governors over the Jews, but that's why they let them do their own thing. That's why Pilate said, "Judge by yourselves." Because
what's that state when you have God as your leader?
Theocracy.
Technically, you can say they were that, and he was against that, and that's why that was an issue. That's why he was a blasphemer.
Wait, who was against theocracy?
Jesus,
theocracy.
In a way, because remember, because he was. Why did they call him a blasphemer?
Because he was uprooting a bunch of traditions that they held.
A bunch of.
So are you saying Jesus was against the government of God? having God as the ultimate.
That's what
I'm saying that yes, they understood him to be against that. They didn't understand what he was actually doing. They understood him. They misunderstood him basically. So that's why they had an issue with him.
Okay, backtrack. What I'm saying is the reason they were so angry at Jesus is because if his message were true, they were going to strip the temple and the Jewish leaders of their powers. So that's what the issue was. So yes, he was trying to upset the government. He was trying to upset the status quo.
He was trying to upset the temple. Anyway, go on. Yeah, okay, fine. I agree. Go on.
Obviously,
see, this is why we need Bible study segment. This is why we need a Bible study segment.
But
because it matters.
What was I saying? What was I saying? What was I saying before we went to the Jesus aspect of things?
You went to the Jesus aspect of things. You were saying that it's not like Jesus who was.
It's not like Jesus who was innocent in that no blame could be found in him. But then at the same time, if someone is to be persecuted, the question I had in my head, if someone is to be persecuted, does that mean they have to be a blameless human being? They have to be a faultless human being? And mine says, well, no. Someone can still be persecuted in a Christian sense, but still be an imperfect human being. So, because I think sometimes what you were saying, it led me to understand that sometimes we look at his character and say, yeah, but he's not really a Christian, which I get. But at the same time, if someone is saying, I'm a Christian, these are my values, that are Bible, I'm going to stand against them. And then I'm going to pay some hookers. It's like, well, isn't just a human. It's not great. Definitely, I wouldn't say this is what Christianity is, but does that in any way negate the other side of them that are standing for the values and trying to push them forward? I don't know. But very interesting. I did not know that's what was happening in America.
Yeah, I didn't catch that at all.
Yeah, but someone would also argue, is this politicizing Christianity? Because some people could say maybe that's just trying to win the Christian votes.
Yep.
Trying to say things that please. Who knows? I don't know. But
then is America a Christian country anymore? I mean, if Britain is not, what are the chances that America is?
I mean, it could well, I mean, America is a mess. But what country isn't a mess, to be fair? So, yeah, thank you very much for that. I'll keep an eye on that. Okay, so I have two things. One is probably more interesting than the other, and I'm not sure which one is which. So I'll start with, I don't know if you guys have seen this headline, right? It's about how doctors are calling for UK-wide ban on smacking children amidst concern over vague laws, right? So basically, there's a movement to say that, you know what, the UK should just ban kids being smacked. Can you see where I'm going with this? No, you can't. Let me ask a question. So
the rod.
It might tickle Pronik a little bit because he's so deceive. But I'm saying that. Do you think
it's now pro deceive Nick?
Do you think obviously the arguments will always make sense, right? They'll always make sound arguments. So when you think about it, you're like, oh yeah, let's have a ban on hitting kids. But do you think that's a subtle way of going against the word of God? Because the word of God does say, do not spare the rod from your child. Now obviously I'm not saying it says just hit them anyhow, but basically it's saying that do not spare this thing, right? To do that is to ruin your child. I think it's let's say something like that, right? To spare the rod from your child is to ruin the child. Do you think this is a very, very subtle way of, how you as Christians will say, we obey the laws of the land unless they are directly against God, then it is our duty to disobey them. Do you think this is an example of that?
Strangely, this is what my dissertation was on.
Oh yes, I do remember. Yeah. You did tackle this issue
back in 19 Gwibid.
Yeah, you did tackle this issue. What was your what was your outcome?
I think my outcome was obviously at that time smacking your child is not.
It wasn't illegal.
It's not illegal.
Yeah.
So the law doesn't really infringe on the human rights of believers. However, obviously, the Bible at the same time does not advocate for abuse.
No, of course not. No, we're not talking about abuse. We're talking about.
Obviously, I had to tackle it from.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I do agree with the headline in the sense that, from a legal perspective, take away the biblical side that we're obviously going to tackle into. Yes, the law on smacking your child in the UK is very vague and very unclear and leads to a lot of problems in the sense that there is no law that says you can't smack your child. You can smack your child, you just can't leave a mark. However, obviously when a child comes, let's say for example a child comes into school and says, my mum hit me, even though that's not illegal, I've still now got to report that parent to social services for smacking their child. And before you know it, the child is at the hospital getting tests done to see if they've got any other injuries on them, this, that, and the other. So it's like saying, yes, you can hit your child, but when you do that, these are the consequences. This is what we're going to do to you. So really, what we're saying is, you can't hit your child because this is going to cause you these problems if you do hit your child. So that's where I agree with the head. I'm pointing there because it's there. That's where I agree with the headlines because it is a vague law, and it also doesn't protect children of a certain color, black kids, for example. So you can hit your child, don't leave a mark. In order for somebody to leave a mark on me that's visible, they've got to hit me incredibly hard. Right. In comparison to my white counterparts, where a little slap will leave a red mark. That's going to be visible for a while. So there is that vagueness as well. So, okay, well, that's fine if you say I can hit my child up to a point where I don't leave a mark, but actually, where is the consistency in that for children whose skin tones do not allow for those marks to be visible there and then or for a while? Because even if I have a bruise, you'd have to look really close to see that I've got a bruise. Whereas our white counterparts, if a child comes into school with a bruise, that's very noticeable, and immediately every member of staff will pick up on it. So it's vague. I get it. It's vague in that element. I do understand where the controversy is when it comes to Christianity, because yes, it's taking people's beliefs out of their hands. Yeah, like I said, obviously it's not advocating for any abuse of any children, but yeah, there are some people who strongly believe that spare the rod does mean you can hit your child as a means of discipline, as a way to make sure your children are staying in line. And obviously everywhere you turn and everywhere you hear at the minute, it's a case of kids are unruly, children are unruly, but then it's like, well, we're taking all the power I get so many parents that I work with, and they'll come and say, I don't know what to do because I smack him, the police are going to be at my doorstep. I do this, the police are going to be at my doorstep. Yet you lot keep telling me I need to parent, but how do I parent in a way that's effective when all I can do is tickle my child? Like that, when all I can do is just speak to them. If I take the phone away from them, someone will say, "Oh no, you can't do that." How are they gonna? That's detrimental to their social life. How are they gonna communicate with their friends? If I do this, somebody else has an opinion on it. So you have to get as a parent, and especially as a believing parent, how do you successfully raise your child in that way when now there's all this red tape, but then at the same time you're being accused of raising delinquents?
Okay, so going back to the thing then, is it the responsibility of the obeying Christian to disobey if it does become law?
Yes. If we're saying that, yes, we know biblically the Bible says everybody appointed is appointed by God, and if you are if we remember that parable where Jesus was like, well, whose face is on that coin? Caesar's. Give to Caesar what's due to Caesar. So he's trying to communicate, when you're governed by a body, there's some certain things you're going to have to do because that's the rules of that land. We drive 30 miles an hour on the road because that's the
wait, so are you saying Christians should obey the law or disobey the law?
I was getting there.
Oh, okay, fine. No, because the arguments you're making right now are for obeying the law.
Yes,
but then your first thing was yes, so I was trying to.
But then obviously, Jesus was also very clear that the highest authority is God. So if the authority that you're under is trying to get you to do something that's not of God, that you're not going to do that. So that's where that discernment comes in. But obviously, as Christians, we also have to be mindful, and I'm guessing coming off the conversation about persecution, as well, we also have to be ready and mindful to the consequences of standing firm to the word of God. So yes, if you're strongly a Christian that believes that I need to smack my child in order for them to be raised a certain way, so that when they grow, they do not depart from those ways. Unfortunately, we still live on earth. There's still these laws that are going to be coming to pass. There will be things that follow up. So we just have to be ready and prepared for those
consequences.
in quotation marks, but
The fallout.
But again, the Bible does tell us that there will become a time where it will be really difficult to be a Christian, to live in, to be in the world but not of the world. There will be a time where it's really difficult to do that, and I think we're heading in that direction if we're not already there.
Oh, fair enough. I forgot it was the basis of your thesis. Interesting, Pronic.
At first, I was gonna say no. It's not a subtle way on trying to go against the Bible. I was gonna say that actually.
I'm not saying intentionally. I'm just saying to your point earlier about the spirit.
I don't know if it's I don't know if somebody has sat down. Said,
it's definitely not.
Let's make life hard for Christians. I don't think those are the intentions.
But I was just talking about the spirit of the air, like you're referring to.
Yeah. So at first, I was gonna say no in answering the question. And the reason I was going to say no is because I think it's clearly an attack on black people, is what I'm going to say, because of...
No, it's fine. You just have to unravel it, but go on.
Because...
You've got our attention.
Because obviously, if you look at the nature that we're talking about, smacking children, mainly in this land came with the blacks, that
I don't know how true that
is. It's within our culture. It's part of our culture. If you look at your studies, look at your research and stuff like that, you see that the smacking is high on the black people or Africans, if I can say that, than it will be on the white people, right? And a law like what she was saying, that a law that says that you can't leave a mark, right? Fine, fair enough. But technically, that only applies to the white person. So with the black person, if a child reports smacking, already that's going to be taken to extremes, because like we were saying, that there's going to be no mark to see what's this mark, what's that mark. So you're only basically you're just going based on what the child said, and then you dig into it. So I feel like, from my understanding of this whole smacking conversations, it's always been big, especially with the black community, So hearing that, for me, I was actually seeing, I think this is a racial thing, to be honest with you. However, when she was speaking...
It's interesting, though, because you say sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. It's interesting you say it's a racial thing, but actually one of the first countries in the United Kingdom to ban smacking was Scotland, and they would have the lowest population of black people.
Fair enough, but what I'm trying to say is that, and for me, I think this is more towards, it's more a fact than an opinion. I think is that smacking, the culture of smacking is high within the black communities, is what I believe.
Carry on with your point. I'm going to say you're going to have to check that because the whole point, if you go back in England history, smacking was part of raising their kids.
Fair enough.
The whole, in fact, one could argue they brought it when they colonized, because the whole hitting kids in front of the class, everything. England used to do that back in the day. But anyway, Karen, Hard Times, Charles Dickens, written 18 something. That culture was there. I don't know if you've ever studied in school. That's how.
I do remember something.
But yeah, the culture of hitting children.
That's going back. That's going back.
Even
that's going back.
At work sometimes when you speak,
1800. No, my point is even as far back as 1800s, it was part of. But then.
Even when you speak to older white people, they'll tell you about being smacked on the back of the legs, being smacked on the bottom, and stuff.
But anyway, that doesn't
still take off what you're saying. Looking at the current society is my point, is my opinion. Smacking is a bigger issue in the black communities than it is in the white communities. Looking in the current society, is what I'm basing what I'm saying on. Okay, and that's why smacking works. The laws, that's why they work, because a lot of black people are scared that if my child just says ABCD, then that's it. I could lose this child, I could go, and so on and so forth. In my experience with the white communities, it's always been about things like grounding, taking this away, taking that away. I would say only people that truly understand bringing up children in the white community are the ones that will actually use smacking. If they are actually hitting their children, it's on the abuse aspect. I feel like with the white community, there is zero. It's either 0 or 100. Okay.
No, I think that's
fair enough.
I think that's an unfair
However,
statement.
from what you're saying, from what you're saying, I sat down and thought about that, and I said, actually, yes, it could be spiritually an attack as well on biblical standards. But then the question I had to ask myself was, to what avail? And that's what she completed for me. You put a hold on proper upbringing of children, you raise a rebellious generation. That's chaos in the society. So to what end do you want? Well, he just wants a chaotic society. No morals, no values, no discipline, no self-control, abuse of substances, abuse of women, abuse of parents, mothers. That's what it leads to, you see? So from that aspect, again, it's one of them ones where you might think that's a stretch. But guys, it's an active thing that is still going on. The Bible clearly says, for he knows his time is short. This guy is working overtime upon overtime to get things done.
Why are you trying to convince us? No one is disagreeing with that aspect. Well, what we disagree with is the fruits that you bring out. And do you know what I really liked about... No. I never disagreed with the spirit of the air. I'm talking about the things that the spirit of the air influencing. That's why I said he might find this interesting. You know what I really liked about what you said? You asked to what avail, right? And when you go do your homework and you're finding your deceptions, I want you to ask that question. I'm not saying we'll have an answer to everything.
Of course.
But I think for me that's the important, because I really like that analysis you just did. And I completely agree with that. If you want to destroy a nation, start with the kids.
Let me give you another one.
If you want to target the people, start with the young ones. Because if you catch them when they're 10, by the time they're 20, they're yours. Which means you have them until they're 80. So I agree with that analysis. Good. Do that level of analysis with your homework.
You know what? As I was thinking while she was talking, another thing came to my mind, just going back to the seasons and the times and whatnot, yeah? There's a whole religion, a whole Christian religion that is based on, let's say, the seventh day of the week, when the day that they worship on is not even the seventh day of the week. If you want to deceive someone, what bigger deception is there than that?
Great, you've one denomination out of 1,000.
It's an example, one example out of 1,000. Don't look at it that way. Okay, no, fine, fair enough. But it's one example out of 1,000.
I don't disagree with that. I'm just
saying
that.
Anyway, so that's what I think about the whole smacking thing. To be honest with you, my initial thoughts was to say no. I thought it was more on the communities and the race and stuff like that, because that's what I understand about smacking. But if I go on the spiritual aspect, yeah, my answer is also a yes. It's a long-winded one process rather, because obviously it's starting from children, but that's what he does get out of it.
No, I mean, if anything, the devil does attack the children, because that's the best way to attack anything. Start with the children. Why are you trying to change a 40-year-old's mind when you can develop it at 2 years?
At 2 years old.
But okay, fair enough. I found that interesting.
What was the second one?
I'm about to come on to it.
Okay.
Chill out. But yeah, okay, fine. So the second one is, again, I think this probably I'm gonna play a clip. I find it interesting. Okay, listen what this guy says. If it plays.
Ooh. It's playing, but there's no sound.
In the marriage, she would lose 10,000.
Cool. All right. Listen to this.
He was very kind, and you had a right to sign it. Concerned that she was going to.
Okay, fine. I'm gonna play it from here because I don't know how to get it back. But basically, he's a lawyer, and just talking about one of the weirdest prenup clauses that he had in his career. So basically, this person has put a prenup to say that the woman gets 80 something, but 10,000 drops for every pound she puts on.
To become less attractive, and he was going to become more wealthy. So his solution to this was, in the prenuptial agreement, he wanted a clause that said if they divorced, she was going to get like $70,000 a month for alimony. But for every 10 pounds she gained from the date of marriage, she would forfeit 10,000 a month worth of alimony. And it was designed to sort of create an incentive that she would remain thin. And that was enforceable, meaning they tried to challenge and set aside that provision. And the court said, this is a disgusting provision. I don't know why you married this person, but it's enforceable. It's a contract. The two of you signed. Shocking prenup, but
all right, that's what we need to hear. So you get the situation, you get the
cruel
prenup.
and unusual punishment.
Initial reactions first.
Like the guy said, it's enforceable. This is why people need to read through contracts and understand what they mean. So if you both signed it, it's enforceable. It doesn't have to be signed in a court of law for something to be enforceable. If me and Pro Nick decided on something, both to sign it, no matter how ridiculous the clauses in it are, we've signed it and it's enforceable. That's that aspect. So I've got no sympathy for her in the fact that she signed it from the fact that she signed it. She read it and she said, I'm agreeing to this and I'm going to sign it. Obviously from his thinking, it's a bit psychotic. I'm not gonna lie.
Why?
Because life changes. Life brings a lot of situations. You can't force somebody to remain the same throughout the whole time you know them. That's just impossible. Weight is a fluctuating thing based on what you've eaten that day, what you've eaten that week.
I don't think your weight
Obviously,
fluctuates based on what you eat on that day.
It's something you can control, and it's almost keeping her in this, almost like a chokehold, really, of this is how much you're going to weigh for the duration of our relationship. Which I think,
if you want 70k a month, I mean, you could say, you know what, 50k is okay for me. Gain 20 pounds.
I genuinely just don't know how to feel about the thing. I mean, if somebody said that to me, I'd be like, no, it's because you've got to think what that means. She's now got to think about, do we have children? Because I'm going to gain some weight when I'm pregnant and maybe keep a bit of that weight after I've given birth. Like, if it was me, I'd probably say then, okay, that's fine, but just know we're not having any children because I'm not jeopardizing gaining the weight.
Alimony. You see, I find this interesting because everything you've just said there is okay. In this world, she's thinking about, if we divorce, I want to be getting 70,000. So every concern she has of gaining weight is because of the free money she wants to be getting when they divorce. You see, so this becomes an interesting conversation for me.
She's been in the relationship. It's not free money.
It is free money.
It's not free. She's contributed to whatever life they've led.
The context,
so
the small context,
money,
the small context we've been given is that he was seeing that he's gonna keep getting richer, as the years go by. So what we know is that he's the one making the money. Right?
But if you're married,
hold on.
You're both,
but hold on. We're not talking about if you're married, because remember, this prenup was before they got married. So this conversation, to be honest with you, there's a deeper conversation here of value in a marriage, a man's worth and a woman's worth. That's what this man approached this thing on. My worth is I have money. Yeah, and I'm happy if we get divorced. I'm happy for you to be getting 70,000 a month for the rest of your life. I don't know how long they go for, but 70,000 once we get divorced, 70,000 a month, every single month. You just get 12 months. You've got money from just doing nothing. And it doesn't stop her from working or anything like that. Again, we're just speculating now. But if they get divorced, the money that he's gonna be giving her, I guess, for all the time they spent together or all her contribution was 70,000. Right? Because he's going to keep getting richer. So now he's thinking, okay, so what do I get in this relationship then? What's her value to me? What's her worth to me? You know, I'm not supporting the mentality, but I'm saying I'm understanding the logic. Okay, your beauty. Okay, so he's saying, okay, fine, fair enough. 70,000 is yours, but what you're going to have to give me is your appearance right now. And he was fair enough not to say don't get older. He just said don't gain weight.
But I guess
you see? So that's why I'm saying that there's a deeper conversation there.
The root cause is the misunderstanding of what marriage is. And I guess the wider conversation would be, should Christians be signing prenups?
Interesting conversation, not right now.
Yes.
So
hence why I said a wider conversation would be.
No, it is a very interesting.
So I don't think I'd call him psychotic.
So
it is a very controlling, strange.
Okay, let me ask you a question then. So I was interested in your initial thoughts first to see where your minds would go. But then when I watched it, I don't know what I initially thought, but then an interesting question arose from it, which is why I decided to show you guys. And my question was, Is it your responsibility to keep yourself looking the best for your partner in a relationship?
That would be 100% yes. That would be 100% yes.
All the time.
Yeah.
It is your responsibility, but I don't think.
So
I don't think it's then
before you come in. So then because we know this trope of people get married and they let themselves go. Like it's a thing of marriage. You know, people, don't get married, you get trapped. Another one is if you get married, both partners, males and females, they both let themselves go. So if he understands that. And he's like, you know what? You're going to get married. You're going to get comfy. You're going to have a cushy life. You're going to let yourself go. I don't want that.
Because that could lead me to divorcing you. Therefore, I have to give you 70,000 a month. If you don't gain weight, I will never have to divorce you.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying, I'm not really commenting on that. That's the thing that led the thought. But the initial thought was, it was a matter of, is it a responsibility in a relationship to keep yourself looking the best for your partner? And I understand that, like, life happens, situations happen, people get pregnant, they have children and whatnot. But, and obviously I get it, you have a child, you're naturally probably going to gain a bit of, well, your hormones are all over the place. But however, it doesn't mean you have to gain 250 pounds. It doesn't mean after you have a child, you just like, oh, I've had a child now, I can let myself go. And it's like, well, or vice versa. It's like when you get married, oh, as a girl, I'm married now. Or it's okay, she likes my love handles. It's like, has she ever said she likes
the handles are getting bigger and bigger. Now you need 4 hands on each side.
It's a love cart now. It's not a handle.
Right?
So that was the interesting question that came to me.
I get that. Yes, it's definitely everybody's responsibility in a marriage to make sure they look the best for their partner. They're in the best health possible. Because you want to live a long life with your partner. You want your partner to still look at you and find you attractive. But I don't think, from what we've heard so far, for me, this clause sounds more from selfish intentions. It's not for her best interest.
I think it's an assumption.
It's not for her best interest. It's for his.
Because we don't know. Like I said, I'll respect that, but we don't know what led to that.
I'll use some, but that's
so we can't say that it was from a selfish point of view. I don't think we can say that.
First time finish.
But I would say it's from a it's for his. Okay, fine. Maybe take the word out. It's for his gain. It's not for her gain. It's for his gain. And I think that's where we go wrong in a lot of relationships. A lot of things are for our gain, not for the other person's benefit.
Can I ask you a question? So if you agree that it's each partner's responsibility to keep themselves looking good for the other person, if I want you to keep yourself looking good for me, is that not for my benefit?
That's
likewise, if you want me to keep yourself looking good for you,
don't mind
is
you,
that not for your benefit?
I don't mind you saying to me, or a partner saying to me, listen, I think you've let yourself go a little bit. Whether do we need to hit the gym again? Do we need to do this? I don't mind having that conversation.
But that's for the partner's benefit. That's I'm looking at you and I'm thinking you've let yourself go.
It's for his benefit in the sense that the clause attached, it's not. It just doesn't stop at that. It just doesn't stop at, babe, I'm concerned for your health, but also
can I be honest? Can I be honest?
Let me finish. Let me finish.
But I'm the question was purely aesthetics, not health.
Yes, aesthetics, health, that. But his benefit is after the divorce. That's why this clause is in place, so that he doesn't have to give that amount of money if they divorce. That's where I'm saying that's where this selfish, sorry, I can't think of another synonym to use in replace for that word that clearly Pro Nick doesn't like. That selfish, he's looking ahead. So it's not, I need you to stay in shape for me in our relationship so I can still find you attractive, so that we can still be sexually attracted to each other, we can still be passionate, this, that and the other. It's, I need you to do this so that I know, which you probably won't even be able to manage, so that should anything happen and we divorce, I'm not giving you as much money as I have to. To
be fair, okay, it's not that I don't like, it's a word that I disagree with in describing this man. So it's not about feelings, it's about what I agree and disagree with. All right, I think there's just not enough that we know. Because what if he was aware that she's marrying him for the money as well? I think for me,
we can't speculate though. But I know
that's the thing. There are a lot of things we're speculating.
Let me finish, deciding to marry her. That's fine.
So
he's still deciding to marry her.
So this is a conversation of the prenup. So in that prenup, everything they are putting is for their benefit in their marriage. Because if she stays thin, if that, again, speculation, but if she stays thin, he's happy.
But a prenup is not for the benefit within the marriage. A prenup is for after the marriage has ended.
Okay, hold on a sec, Fatani.
It's useless while you're still married.
Okay, help me understand this. You just accused him of saying that the prenup benefits him after the marriage, yet you've just said now that a prenup is useful after the marriage. So what do you want then?
No, but
let me explain. Fatani, hang on. So she's saying,
in that case, he did very well in the prenup.
So she's coming from the aspect of, correct me if I'm wrong, you're coming from the aspect of like she won't manage to keep the pounds down. So she will gain the pounds so that if they do divorce, he pays less.
Yes.
But then could it not be from the other side to say that he's hoping they don't get divorced? And in that, so she stays in her best shape. But if she does let herself go, and they
end up divorcing,
then now it's like, well,
we don't know either way. Either of those could be true. If we had the people, we would ask them. But my point still remains: a prenup is only effective after the fact. A prenup is useless while you're still married. You might never have to use a prenup if you never get divorced. So
but
for him, he benefits at the end. At the end of the marriage,
if she lets herself go,
only if she doesn't.
If she doesn't, she gets 70,000 every single month.
But she knows that,
and she's still looking really good.
And she's still looking good. So she can go off and marry somebody else. She can go off and do whatever else with 70,000 check coming in.
If she abides by the contract terms, she leaves.
She's okay. Winning, anyway, I'm not supporting his mentality. I think for me, prenups are a big question mark when it comes to wedding marriages and so on and so forth. But if we are gonna discuss them in this context, I think all I'm gonna say is that that was my initial response, but I would want to know more for this prenup. I would want to know what was included. I would want to know the ins and the outs before I can make a conclusion or a summary on whether I think it was a selfish thing for him or whether I think it was a fair agreement, because that's what a contract is. If you are sitting together and writing a contract before weddings or to buy something or to hire somebody, you are saying that this is what we want in the contract. You abide by this, I'll abide by this.
I'm not denying that it's a fair agreement.
So all I'm saying is that I would want to know more in order for me to conclude. In order for me to conclude whether he's a selfish person or not, or whether it's an unfair contract or not. Because all I have is him saying that she shouldn't get any weight. I mean, if we divorce, for every pound she's gained since we got married, she forfeits 10,000.
To be fair, I already said it's a fair contract because she signed it. I started off with that. It's a fair, and we're not here to
signing something doesn't make it fair. You could sign a contract that's unfair.
Yeah, but if you're signing it, you're saying you agree to it. So
you can agree to something, but Fatsani, you can agree to something that is unfair.
We've wondered.
Yes, just because you're signing something doesn't make it fair. All right, go on.
Hang on. The point wasn't about the prenup, the contract, or anything else, and you're going into
the point was about whether it's our responsibility to look ourselves in the best shape for our partners, and the answer is yes.
Details of contracts and stuff. Who knows what the contract was? But that's fine.
I think the second one was more interesting.
So you're saying yes to that. You're saying yes to that, and with caveats and stuff like that. But I just found it interesting, or I found the question interesting rather, and I think it's I think just a few days before that I was talking to someone else about that very thing. About how it's almost like in relationships, it's almost like people can't tell each other that, yo, you let yourself go. It comes across as selfish and insulting and judgmental and stuff like that. And I was like,
gaslighting.
Yet we're saying that appearance is a big factor of a dog to loving somebody.
How it's said matters, you know.
Of course.
You can't call oi tabby, you know, that's different.
So
when she's coming downstairs, start shaking.
So I get how it says matters, but I was like, I don't know why is there stigma? People in committed relationships telling each other, yo, actually, you know, you've sort of let yourselves go here.
Is that an extra flab?
Or even looking at yourself and thinking, hey, you know what? This is not how I looked when I first met this girl or when I met first this man. You know, maybe I'm not saying look like you were when you were 19.
Of course, but I was about to say that.
It's about keeping yourself. That's what I say. Keeping
in
yourself
relative
in the
shape,
best,
yes,
in the best possible way.
Yeah.
You know, like Fatsani said, which is fair. Life happens. You know, if someone is sick for 5 years, they're not gonna look the way they did at 26. You know. So yeah, and of course you can go into other avenues about long suffering and etc. But
long suffering.
Okay, ladies and gents, listen. Where else are you going to get Terrence Howard and his psychedelic visions? I'm convinced.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. That is not a fair representation.
We didn't touch on that, but I'm telling you, definitely psychedelic visions. Donald Trump and his Christian crusade in
alleged
America.
Christian crusade.
UK smacking kids and prenups conversations. Where else are you gonna get that? Or in a Christian context. Listen, Offbeat POV, you know where you need to
have
be.
it all.
Ladies and gents, thank you very much for joining us on our little catch-up session. We will love to see you in our next episode, where I guess we get into the more meatier stuff and everything else. But find us on our Insta, on our socials, Instagram. We have a Facebook group, Facebook Society, TikTok, YouTube. I think that's it, really. That's all our socials.
Hit this button here to subscribe.
That's definitely not where the button is going to be, especially if someone is listening. But in any
here?
case, listen, if you like what you hear, let us know that you liked it. If you didn't, let us know that you didn't. Or engagement is good engagement. Ladies and gents, without further ado, any more?
No, it was good catch up.
Until next time then, ladies and gents, stay offbeat.